Hello, DigPins folks. I wanted to make a quick video about Hypothesis because I think it's a really fun learning tool that I'm hoping everybody will enjoy, but especially when you're first new to it, it can be a little bit, well, there's some technical things and then there's some like, well, what exactly is this kind of things. And I just wanted to take a minute to sort of frame it up. I hope that this is helpful. So when you first click on the link and you come to an article with Hypothesis that has a hypothesis layer on top of it, because that's what Hypothesis is, right? It's like a layer over the top of a web page or a PDF document, basically an electronic piece of text in some way. You might be saying, well, how do I know that, Autumn? So I'm on an article here at Hybrid Pedagogy, and this document has been marked up, and I know that because I have the Hypothesis plugin installed. So if you look at my cursor up here, I'm circling that the Hypothesis plugin is here, and there's a number 68, and that means there's 68 annotations on the page. So there's a couple of ways that I can see those, but what I want to draw your attention to are these little icons over here. This is Hypothesis, and if you weren't paying attention, you might not even notice it. The most important piece right off the bat is the this little arrow, because that opens up the panel for the Hypothesis layer. So these are all the annotations that are on this document. This is an article that we annotated as a part of a previous DigPin, so we are not going to be reading this article. It is a great one though. It's called But You Can't Do That in a STEM Course, and Karen Cagliosi is talking about open pedagogy and critical digital pedagogy and how you can do that in a STEM course. So yeah, she says that a lot of times folks say that you can't, but she's making the point that you can. So you can see here that this document is highly annotated, and there's two ways that I can get to the annotation. So I can click on one of the highlighted areas, and that's going to open up the panel and take me to that particular annotation. And then I can go back to all the annotations by clicking on this button, or if I go to a particular annotation, it will take me to that part of the document. Here, I can go down a little bit further to make that a little more dramatic. And then see, it'll actually move the document for me when I click on those things. Notice that as you're annotating, it's also giving a place to reply, so you can get these threaded discussions inside of here. And besides just having text in your annotations, I actually have another document that I'm the only person who annotated it, but there's a lot more of this other stuff that I wanted to show you, so I wanted to point that out. You can create links. So if there is information that you want to link out to, you can, and if you just pop in a YouTube URL, it will automatically resolve, and the YouTube will just become part of the annotation layer. So it's not even like you have to go out to YouTube, it'll just be right there inside of the annotation. So besides the mechanics of how things work, I also wanted to talk a little bit, oh, there's one more thing about the mechanics. So I said that I was using the Hypothesis plugin. You don't have to do the plugin. I highly recommend it because it can be a little buggy without the plugin. The plugin's also only for Chrome. So you might want to try it without the plugin, and if you're having some trouble, then maybe consider putting the plugin in. But you can also just grab a URL, and you can always tell a Hypothesis URL because it starts with hyp.is, right? You can just grab that, and I'm going to open up another browser, which is actually my UMW account that I don't have. I'm sorry, my University of Michigan Dearborn account, my UMD, not UMW account. And I'm just going to paste that in, and you'll see even without the plugin, this browser doesn't have the plugin. Notice that little H is not up there. it's still going to load the document and it's going to load hypothesis. It might take a little bit longer, so you're going to have to wait for it, but then that'll just pop up right there. And that's just at the article level. That doesn't make it so that it's in your browser and it is always kind of there. This is just so that you can do the one article. Now, before you can actually add annotations, reply to annotations, you will have to sign up for an account. And that's a pretty easy process. If you've ever signed up for an account for anything before, I'm confident that you'll be able to get through that. So I think that's it for the mechanics kind of piece of all of this. But I did want to talk a little bit about the how and the why of doing this. So one of the things that I like about Hypothesis is that well, I like to annotate while I'm reading. I'm an underliner, I'm a highlighter, I'm always putting notes in the margins about things. So that is a really powerful practice. We know that that's a metacognitive practice. We know that that is just a great way to be an active reader, right? And it doesn't mean you're just annotating or highlighting just for the heck of it, right? But you're actively thinking, how can I engage this text, go beyond what is just on the page, merge it with my own thinking, merge it with things I've read before, connect it to ideas that I've heard before. If there's something I don't understand, take the time to go look that up in an encyclopedia, or take the time to look up words I don't understand in a dictionary. All of that is great. But what does it mean when all of a sudden that's a social process, right? So when you're creating annotations, you do want to be thinking, how can I extend this text, but then how can I extend beyond what's actually on the page in a way that's not just good for me, but is also good for the other people who I'm reading with, because now I'm reading collectively with other people. So some of the things I like to do is think about the origin of the document. Who are the authors? What's going on with this? How are these people coming together, or this person coming together to write this thing? Why are they collecting these thoughts? So one of the things I like to do is, and then this article I didn't do it because there's just so many authors, oh my goodness, but I did find out that they're basically a group from MIT that are trying to create this new field of study, this machine behavior study, and they've created a YouTube channel with a bunch of thinking around this, so I linked to that, right? And then whenever I come across people who I've never heard of before, I usually do a quick search of them, and so I do just pop into Wikipedia really quickly. Wikipedia is pretty good, especially for people. I find that their standards are pretty high for people, so I can get a quick idea of who historical figures are, or who leaders in the field are that are maybe mentioned in the text. And so we can do all of that. The other thing is sometimes things jump out to me, so sometimes it's not necessarily a link, right? So I'm saying here, is this particular thing a conflict of interest? And you can definitely connect it back to experiences that you've had, or things that are in your field of study that maybe seem relevant. And this is just a great way to number one, encourage some metacognition in the reading process. 2, make that metacognition visible, not just to an instructor, but also to the entire class. And, also create a discussion inside of a work, inside of a piece of text that's really nuanced. So it's one thing to post an article for reflection and then open up a discussion board that's completely separate, and then people get these really big kind of overall summaries where they have something to say, but it's another thing to actually highlight a particular sentence or a particular word even, and be able to make a comment on that and just have that really closely linked and really closely tied to one another. Oh, one other piece of mechanics that I will point out, the page notes. So the annotations are one thing, but then there is a place for that more kind of summary information. So if folks do want to add page notes, then you know, that can definitely go in there as well, and you just click on one of these, and then I can add you know, a note that is really kind of attached to the entire document, not just one particular line in the document. So the page note is sort of like a summative overall kind of comment that you can make. So I hope that this has been helpful. I wanted to kind of merge a little bit between like the mechanics of how this tool works, but also because in DigPins we are in the Pedagogy Week, I wanted to talk a little bit about how I've seen this tool be used in classes, especially online classes. I hope that everybody really likes it. The article that we are reading is amazing, and from an amazing person. Dave Cormier has been a leader in technology, online learning, educational, open educational pedagogy for, gosh, probably like 20 years or something. The article that we're reading from him is Who's Gonna Help Build the Pro-Social Web, and I really hope that everybody really enjoys it. We'll also be talking with Dave in a synchronous call as well, so it's an exciting week. I'm really excited to see what everybody comes up with this week, and I hope that the video has been helpful. All right, take care. Bye.